Previously on Novels and Nightcaps.
People who don't normally read books really enjoy this book, right?
So
the
Hugo?
ending has to be satisfying. I am totally talking about our friend Hugo, by the way. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Novels and Nightcaps, the podcast where we read, drink, and ramble. My name is Noor.
And I'm Gabe. And we have a special guest today. Introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Hugo.
Exactly. And today we are diving into part 2. Yeah, that's all you need to know. I mean, you saw the previously on clip. You know exactly who he is. He's the guy we name dropped, and it's time to talk
I'm the guy
about
that's read multiple books this year.
Multiple books.
How many?
I don't know if I buy that.
Does a decimal count?
No, I don't. I don't think partly read books. But today we're going to be talking about Project Hail Mary. It is the beloved book, and we're going to be going through the entirety of it. It's a full spoiler talk about the whole entire book, and we're going to be scoring it. So we're going to be talking about our different ratings. So we're going to start with our overall and then break it down segment by segment and really get into what we loved about this book, what we didn't love so much, but mostly what we loved. But before we get started with that, we got to talk about what we're drinking. So Noor, what are you drinking today?
I tried. I really did try. I tried to make a White Russian, and the end product is watered down cold brew with vodka. So
that sounds really great.
Hey, dude, that's glorious. Now, why did you make a White Russian?
I like coffee. I like vodka. Vodka was name dropped. It was the only alcoholic substance aboard the Hail Mary. Actually, by a Russian.
I like that.
A Russian brought it, so that's my excuse.
A White Russian?
Yeah, I was about to say, I take it she was white, so, I mean, I think we can
She might have been.
assume.
We'll find out in the movie.
She might have been. Yeah, that's true. We'll find out in how she's cast. That's perfect. Well, Is it good? Did you decide if it's tasty? Are you enjoying it?
It's cold brew. So yeah, it's pretty good. I don't think it's what it's supposed to taste like, but I'll take it.
Hey, that's all right. That's all right. I also made something kind of weird today. I made a gin grape Ricky. So a gin Ricky is like a kind of classic cocktail. I added a little bit of grape juice on top. So it's 2 ounces of gin. I chopped up a whole lime, squeezed that in there, and filled it with club soda, and then topped it off with just like a little bit of grape juice to really get the color, because the color is really what I'm after. As we saw last time with the Bramble, I think with this book in particular, I'm mostly trying to match the color of space. I didn't really know what to. You already made a cosmonaut. That's all really I had in the barrel. So it's really good. I'm enjoying this thoroughly. It's quite tasty. It's not traditional whatsoever, and I don't know if it's good objectively, but subjectively, it's quite tasty. Now, Hugo, what are you drinking?
I'm not gonna lie. I'm not the biggest fan of liquors, so I just I went with the beer.
Hey,
it has a lime on it.
Yeah, I was about to say garnish.
From Earth.
That's good.
You know, you got to remember what you're doing this for when you're out in space.
You can call it the Petrova lime.
That's actually what it's called.
Did you prep that in advance? I take it you prepped it, right? There's no way you just came up with that. No, I don't believe that. I don't believe you. I don't believe that. This is not a scripted show, but that was a scripted event.
That was not scripted. That was not scripted.
I decided to put a lime on like 30 seconds ago, so 30 seconds before the podcast started.
So what beer are you drinking?
It's Michelob.
Oh, of course it is. Wow.
It's my favorite.
Name
brand.
Hashtag not sponsored, but
beer.
Please sponsor. Name brand beer.
Name brand. Only the good stuff.
Beer. Yeah,
wow.
Of course.
I do think it's funny. They came out on Novels and Nightcaps, and I was like, dude, I'm not a huge fan of the nightcap or novels, to be honest.
But he is a
awesome.
big fan of Project Hail Mary. So
excellent segue into actually what this podcast is about. That's great. So, yeah, we're going to be talking about Project Hail Mary. So, first, we want to talk about the book spoiler free for about 15 minutes, go over our overall impression of the book, whether or not we would recommend it. Spoiler alert, I think we would all recommend it. That's a pretty across the board. It's a really good book. But, Hugo, since you're the guest here, since you love this book so much, can you give us an overall vague back of the book sort of summary on what this book is about?
Sell this book to the viewers.
Sell this book. Okay. So, the
no
book,
pressure.
I'd say at its core is I mean, there's so much that you cannot talk about. It depends, because where you two came in compared to where I came in, I believe y'all saw the trailer before you started reading, right?
I didn't,
yes.
But nor did.
Yeah, well, there was huge portions of that trailer that I would just not have put in the trailer, kind of, huge spoilers, which we're all aware of. But if you're reading this book, just go at it completely blindly. That's all I can say.
That's fair.
It essentially follows the story of Grace, who is a school teacher who signs up to be an astronaut to save the world from this alien life known as astrophage. It's kind of like a apocalypse. Well, no, it doesn't really deal with the world, but it deals with him just rediscovering his own life and using the scientific method to figure out where he is and what exactly he's doing.
Exactly. He wakes up on a spaceship with no memories and has to figure out what he's doing there in a distant galaxy. And I guess not galaxy, a distant solar system, a different star. What he's doing there and why. And that's the whole book, pretty much. And it's incredible. So, before we really dive deep, we need to get into some overall impressions. So do we want to start with our overall scores? Is that the thing here? Yeah. Okay. Nor.
Yeah.
Overall score of the book. What did you give it on a scale of 1 to 10? And did we decide are we doing that ranking that we did last time with we have hardcover, collector's edition, ebook?
I did improvise that. I improvised that on the spot. I liked it.
That was really good. I like that a lot. Yeah, an ebook is the absolute worst of the worst. Or I think it was above. Was library below or above ebook?
Ebook was pretty low for me.
Yeah,
but
I think so. Anyways, go ahead.
This is one of those ratings that I feel like we're using two separate scales here. So on a scale from 1 to 10 or 0 to 10, I give this book a 7.8, which actually kind of surprised me given how much I liked it. But hear me out. 7.8, but I think I would get this as a hardcover. I think so. This book blew my mind. It's so many concepts. It's such a human story for what it is, Are we going to break these down, by plot, character, style, impact on world?
I think we will, in the spoiler section. Yeah, because we don't want to. I feel like if somebody is here and they haven't read Project Hail Mary, which we all agree that they should read it, I don't want to be like, the book is great, but the characters are just awful. So yeah, I think we can save those bits for later on in the episode. I actually really like this. So you said hardcover for, I guess, the more subjective ranking. In our attempt at objective ranking, you had a 7.8. Was that it?
Yes, I give it a 7.8. Which, once we break it down, there is one outlier in my opinion, but overall, highly recommend. It was such a fun time. Great stuff. What about you, though, Gabe?
What did you? Oh, okay, yeah. So I gave it a little bit of a higher score. I was afraid that I was going to lowball it. I gave it an 8.56, and AKA really good book, fantastic book. And I don't know if ever on this podcast we will reach above 9. I suspect we will, but I really, really liked it. I think for me, I'd probably. Why are you laughing? What's so funny, Hugo? What's so funny?
No, keep going. It's nothing that you did. It's nothing that you did.
I would probably say it's a paperback for me. So on the other end, like I like how I got it. I got it as a paperback. I got it in that floppy format that I don't really care if it gets too torn up in my backpack when I'm walking around with it. I kind of like it that way. It feels like the type of book that needs to be a little battered. And I don't know if that makes sense, but that's my subjective view of it. It seems like a paperback sort of book, but an 8.56 for my overall rating. I highly recommend it. I think that it does a great job of entertaining the reader while also having something meaningful to say, which is a hard line, I think, to ride. It does a really good job of it. So Hugo, overall rating, what would you give it? And then how would you rate it? Do you remember the full scoring system for that?
If I recall correctly, you have your collector's edition. That's your like one of the best books you've ever read.
Dark Knight Rises kind of stuff.
Yes. Then you have your hardcover, your paperback, and then after that, the list kind of gets loosey goosey. But we have ebook, we have library rental, we have
I like that.
copy that you find in your mom's basement because you left it there for years. Yeah. Something like that,
I like that.
I know you like ebooks a lot though, so.
Yeah, personally, I like ebooks just simply because I cannot read small words, guys. If I open a book and the lines are too close together, I'll be starting out one line, switching to the next on accident. There needs to be big spaces. It's just my eyes don't work that well. But funny enough, keeping in mind that you'll never go above a 9 on the podcast, I got a 9.4. I love it. That's why I was.
That's in character.
I cannot express enough. I know I am glazing this book, but I have read books that I completely hate, and I just power through. They both at the end. This was not one of them. This was one that actively kept my attention to where I could be sitting down reading it, and I don't have an attention span. Sorry to say it. I could read, 10 chapters of it. Or earlier today, I think I read it like 8 chapters. Of course, I wanted to ask, where does the audiobook format fall into that form factor, that framework?
We had it, I believe, on the last episode. There was audiobook there. I don't know if audiobook is
tailor this list.
Yes, we need to have something a bit more structured, and I think we will over time. My opinion, I think audiobook comes right below paperback. But above, obviously, like ebook and library rental and finding it in your mom's basement. And so I think that's where I would put it, because it's a great experience. Project Hail Mary is a little different in that I know that the audiobook experience is particularly exciting and fantastic.
Yeah.
And from what I've heard, I haven't listened to it myself, but I've heard a lot of really good reviews from it. But it's still, I mean, there's books that I think play really well on audiobook that aren't as good to read, actual paperback. So it really depends.
Understand that.
That's why it's a subjective system, because it's not a. Yeah, no, it's not like I don't think that sort of rating system is a rating of quality, but rather methodology of how we would like to experience the book. So I think that's the best way to look at it. Anyways, so where would it fall on your methodology scale?
For me, I'd say a hardcover book. It would definitely be a book that I would want to have and keep around for a very long time. I always talk with Castillo about this, but if I was to ever have not necessarily a library, but a collection of all the best media that I could find, such as The Secret Life of Walter Mitty or Firewatch as a video game, or different stories that I've experienced that I would rank highly and hold close to me throughout however long. I would say this would be one of them. Not even necessarily because it's not nearly as cinematic or beautiful as I would say like something like Interstellar is. obviously those are through two different mediums, a story compared to a movie. But this one definitely held its own. And it was more so in the way that the characters felt like they really came alive,
And I actually
specifically
think,
between the two protagonists.
yeah, I actually think this is a perfect segue to diving into that spoiler full discussion, right?
You're right.
So,
So yeah, right before we switch over, right before that, what type of reader would love this book? Right before we do that, what is our final sales pitch? What type of reader would love this book? I think somebody who likes science, who is interested in modern day ways that we could take a next step forward. I think that's really good. People who are interested in big questions with very very intimate answers, with very like personal answers. And I think people who are looking for something that's a bit easier to read, something that can really take you out of a reading slump, this is a great book for that. It is, I think Hugo said it perfectly. It grabs your attention and it keeps it the entire time. And it gives you a reason to keep reading. You don't have to force yourself to do it. So if you're looking to get out of that slump and get back into reading as a hobby, this is a fantastic book for that.
Yeah, fantastic. I'd say, I mean, it's just one of those books that takes, I'd say, no effort to read. If anything, I'd rather reach for that than pick up the TV remote. It's just such an entertaining story. Not even necessarily, if you're looking at it just from the story perspective, not even as a book, anyone who enjoys a good story, regardless of the medium, you'll enjoy this one.
100%.
I think you hit the nail on that one. I would also add, if you like puzzles or mysteries to some extent, this also has that, especially very early on, as the character doesn't really know who he is or what he's doing or where he's at. Yeah, no, this book has something for everyone. It's very accessible and it has that like grand stake while being really, really personal. And I think that's a good story.
Yeah, right. So I 100% agree. So anyways, if you haven't read it, go read it. The movie is coming out sometime soon. Go read it before the movie because we all know the book is probably going to be better, but the movie looks like it's going to be pretty fun. So
Ryan Gosling.
Yeah, Ryan Gosling is pretty great casting.
And
but
the directors of
go
Spider-Verse.
Read it. Oh, I actually didn't know that.
And Nicolas Cage as Rocky.
That might not be true. That last part might not be true.
All in all, if you read it before, you can have bragging rights.
Yeah, 100%. You have bragging rights
before the movie came out.
You have a more elevated opinion of the piece because you've already read it.
You're better than other people,
which means you're better than other people that are going to watch it. Also, that means you can come back and watch our spoiler review and actually know what we're talking about whenever we dive into this. But if you don't want you're welcome to stay too because we would appreciate the watch time.
Go ahead and get that book. The link is down below. Use our affiliate link. No extra cost for you.
Oh, yeah, good plug.
Definitely helps us out. Yeah, there we go.
It helps us out 100%. Can't forget about affiliate link. Let's go. Can't forget. Thank you, Nora. Well, diving into our spoiler section, should we start with plot? Plot, I think, was a really big strong suit of this book. I really enjoyed it. And Hugo, since you glazed the book so hard, and I feel like we know what you're going to say here, go ahead and give us your rating for plot and why. What stood out to you? If it is on the weaker side, what didn't?
No, I gave it a 9 out of 10. I love the plot. I mean, no part of it seemed forced or out of place. I mean, yes, there's the idea of a school teacher becoming, an astronaut. But, you kind of just go with it because at the end of everything, nothing works out perfectly. And it just kind of falls into place. The most forced thing you could say that I saw in this book would be the DNA gene that let you be in that comatose state for 3 or 4 years, I believe it was, that only Grace and a certain amount of others had. And I feel like it really, you didn't feel like it was pushing you in a certain direction. I feel like after you get past maybe the first third of the book, everything else feels completely natural.
Mhm.
And I really enjoyed that about it. Of course, there are the Gabe, you were touching on it earlier, or maybe it was from the last podcast, the cycle of problem to problem solution
Yeah.
that kept just ramping up and leading to Archimedes' lever. Yeah, it was really enjoyable.
You
Yeah,
know, I was streaming myself writing one day, and I was telling people about Project Hail Mary because I was excited about it because I was about to finish it, and I was asking people that were watching. I was like, "Hey, what did you guys think?" And one person straight up told me, "I didn't like it." I'm like, what? How did you not like it? I'm like, they just floated too much. It's like, what? They're like, too much floating. Did not enjoy it. Too many
Space.
descriptions of floating. I'm like, what do you mean? They're like, well, they like would solve a problem, then float some more, solve more problems and float. And it just wasn't my vibe. I was like, I mean, I guess I can't really argue with you on the whole floating thing because there was a lot of floating and solving problems. I mean, that is the book. That's the entire thing.
You're in space.
Yeah, yeah. But I think you're on the right track there. I completely agree. It was really good, and the area for me that struggled, and I'll tell you my score. I give it an 8.5 out of 10. So very good score. Thought it was really good. The area where it struggled for me, where where it lost that 1.5 points, was in a bit of its predictability and a bit of the like suspension of disbelief that you really had to buy into. Whenever you're reading a book like this, of course, we all sign an invisible contract with the author to give it a shot and try our best to get engaged in the story. And I felt like it worked really well with this book. Of course, I give it an 8.5. And last time we talked about how you have to buy that a school teacher is realistically going to become basically number 2 in command for this mission. You also have to buy the whole DNA gene thing. You also have to buy, there's a lot to buy into. And in the moment, it doesn't feel like very significant because it's very natural and it all leads into itself very well. And I still think it is very natural and leads into itself, but it is convenient. And I think that's undeniable. It is a very convenient device that they use. And then finally, while my heart was very happy, I really kind of liked knowing where it was going and predicting it. And I promise, I need to say this now. I predicted the book almost perfectly last time. And I need
I
to
was
say this.
watching that earlier today.
I did not I do not know the book. I had not read a synopsis, but reading it, I'm like, I must be clairvoyant. This is this is insane because I got almost everything exactly right. Like he ended up on the Iridian planet. Like it was I said that was my perfect dream for how the book would end, and that's exactly how it ended. And my heart was very happy knowing that it landed in my perfect happy little place. But still, there was a lack of surprise that I think would have pushed it over the edge to make it just that much more exciting because I never felt shocked, and I would have liked that. So that's the little bit there. How about you, Nora? What did you think?
Yeah, no, I think I agree with both of you. I'm really glad you brought up like the little buy-ins, the many buy-ins that we have to sort of give at the beginning of the story. I gave it an 8 out of 10. Number one, because I didn't do decimals. Number two, because it's just such a great plot. You know, the mission itself is really awesome. The concept of astrophage is just so cool, and the Tamiba
It
as
really
well.
is.
Yeah, the problem solving was so good. It hits that dopamine loop so damn well. It just keeps you going. You read one chapter and you're done. You want to read the next one. There was never a time where unlike the Devils, which we did last time, there was never a time where I was reading this book. I'm like, I need to put it down. I need to do something else. No, I pulled a bit of an all-nighter trying to finish the book. I stayed up like 2 hours past my bedtime just to finish the book. I was like, I have to. This is so good. Where it does lose that point or those 2 points for me, why it's not a 9 out of 10 or a 10 out of 10 is, yeah, there's so many buy-ins, and I'm usually really good about it, right? Because there is the suspension of disbelief that we all have to kind of come into when we're reading a book or watching a movie. But there are so many things, so many things that fall neatly into place for Ryland, for Grace to be the one in that ship, right? Which I'm okay with, as long as they do something with the fact that he was the chosen one, you know, quote unquote. But there's never really a moment of self-doubt. There's never really... I just feel like they could have expanded more on that. And I saw the trailer, and the trailer, the way it was edited anyway, it gives that vibe of like, he has a lot of self-doubt, and yet he is humanity's last hope. So I hope that the movie sort of edits that part and maybe expands on that aspect, because there are definitely mentions of that in the book. There's just not a lot, and I felt like that could have really pushed it up. But 8 out of 10 for
No,
me.
there's definitely some parts more that I would like to see. Like, I think it was closer to chapter 22, 23, where Grace is kind of coming to terms with the fact that he can either go home to save his own planet, or go back with Rocky and save both their planets. And they really do skip over the idea, or like, it just seems like he came to peace way too easily. Like, they did mention moments that he would cry and that he would sob about having this burden, but it was just that one or two sentences. Yeah. And then, you know, they would kind of come back to it whenever he was having a conversation with Rocky, like, hey, Rocky, I'm not coming back regardless. There's no food. Stuff like that. It was like, it's really nice to read, but it would be a 10 out of 10 for me if there was that one final, or like 9.5. The buy-ins, kind of specifically the DNA buy-in. It's good, but it's definitely better than Armageddon, you know, trading drillers to be astronauts as opposed to astronauts to be drillers.
That's a deep cut reference right there.
Last time we had like Clash of the Gods. This time so good.
We had a lot of James Gunn.
Armageddon is good. Yeah. Armageddon.
But yeah, it's like there was. I wish there was more time that we spent with Ryland coming to terms with the fact that he was going to die. You know, of course, he didn't know about the planet and being able to live off Talmiba for so long. And that was kind of not really explored too much. But yeah, it would have just been nice to see him kind of come to terms, not necessarily have a bad ending, but if he kind of reacted more, if we got to see that outside of him more.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think that Weir's weakest point is the emotional depth of his characters, and of, I guess this naturally segues into our characters. I definitely think the weakest point was hitting that emotional beat. He really excelled in all other areas, but it felt a bit rom-com-y whenever it was like, I pictured it as an airport scene where it's like, you know, he's about to get on the plane and fly to New York City. Yeah, and so that's exactly how I pictured it. And so it was really cheesy, but still at the same time, while it was cheesy, of course it made my heart happy because I liked the characters and I liked what was going on, and it was fulfilling and it hit those notes well, but it wasn't heartbreaking, or the tension really wasn't there for me, at least. So that's why I gave the characters my weakest score of a 7.8 out of 10. So I gave it really specific 7.8 because I didn't think it deserved an 8. But I did care about Ryland Grace, and I did care about Rocky, surprisingly. Rocky was a big surprise for me. But everybody in the flashback was just irrelevant to me. I didn't really care about them. But it's just kind of undeniable that Ryland Grace was a really enjoyable character to follow along with. And I enjoyed the way he thought. And that really boosted a lot, because very rarely does a voice show through that well. And of course, this kind of carries a little bit into style, and my rating of style, which is very high. But the way that he wrote Ryland Grace and the way that Ryland Grace would think was just infectious. And it is really the reason why the problem loop worked so well. Because without an entertaining voice to explain what was going on, without a teacher's voice to explain what was going on, it would have been so heavy to listen to read. It would have been so just bogged down by those lines. But they were simplified in such an entertaining way. So that's why I give characters a 7.8. And we can talk, of course, more about these characters and what we liked and didn't like in their relations. But that's a very quick overview. So, Nora, what did you think about the characters? What was your take?
Yeah, no, having these discussions always makes me want to change my ratings. Because, damn, that was insightful. But I actually gave character 9 out of 10. Emotionally, yeah, emotionally, I was invested in Ryland and Rocky. I'm not gonna lie, when I saw the trailer, I didn't feel like that strongly about Rocky. I was like, oh, there's an alien. Awesome. And then I met Rocky, and Rocky is so damn likable. And it's, you know, the whole idea of him being like a spider, 300-pound metal spider engineer is just so funny to me. I was reading the book next to my dog almost every time, and I just kept thinking of my dog, which I almost named Rocky, actually. So that was fun. The fact that he speaks with sound. We all speak with sound, but his is more like musical.
Yeah.
And the fact that, you know, like the science or biology behind Rocky was entertaining. But anyway, as a character, so likable, so friendly. If something were to happen to Rocky, I think I would unalive myself. But Ryland also very, very good. A very good point of view to like bring us into this world. His language is so quirky. He's so optimistic. He's so funny. I might be a little biased because I also want to be a teacher, so I saw a lot of like things to aspire towards. I really enjoyed him and his problem solving, and the fact that he didn't cuss was kind of charming.
I gotta ask.
There are some.
Whenever Rocky like fake died for a second, whenever he saved Grace,
I didn't buy
did
it.
that emotionally? Okay, cool. Because I was wondering, because that for me, I was like, there's no way he's dead. If he is dead, that is the most disappointing thing ever. So I was just curious if you were worried or had any sort of emotional hit there.
No, because in my experience, if the book doesn't spend more than one line describing the character's death, then the character's not death.
I like that.
But this is also one of the issues with the style, I feel like, which I guess I'll talk a little bit about that, is the fact that it's very accessible, very easy to understand, but it misses on those dramatic moments. You know, I had to reread multiple times those action sequences because I didn't realize that an action sequence had just occurred because it's so matter of fact, and Ryland kind of glosses over that very quickly. But back to character, at least, very enjoyable, very invested. Definitely cheered and like did like a fist bump or like an whatever you call it. When Ryland made the choice to go back to save Rocky, that made me so happy. Hugo, characters. What's your rating?
Yeah, I gave it a 10 out of 10. I love the characters. Each one of the characters, except I felt like the only one that I didn't care too much for was Strat, and that's because you see so many characters like them, like Amanda Waller. It's like she exists to put the main character in a position that no one else wants to be in. We've seen it so many times before. It's entertaining, but it's like, you know, she's just there to serve a purpose in the story. Other than her, I think Chin might, or was it Chin, the second astronaut?
Who even knows?
Because I know there was the Russian Ivanka
Devoy
or Ivana.
Yao.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he might have been like my least second favorite character. They didn't spend too much time on them, except I did like the Russian. I'm forgetting her name. It
Dimitri.
started with him.
Oh no, I like Dimitri.
I actually did like him. I love the scene with him at the icebergs when they were
Oh
melting.
no, that's someone else.
Like,
Um,
is it?
yeah.
Oh,
I know who
man.
you're talking about, but he's awesome too. I forget his name.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but oh yeah, because Dimitri was the one who helped design the little astrophage breeding chamber.
No,
No, that was someone else.
I'm pretty sure
I
Dimitri was
think
just
that
a
was Riley
bodyguard.
Grace. Yeah, I don't know.
No. You're thinking
Well,
of
no,
the
he
guy
had
who made the
initially
Beatles, right? Or
maybe
there's so many characters.
because
Dr. Larkin.
there was a
And
lot
this
of
is why it's
production.
7.8 out of 10. This is why I'm right, because they're irrelevant to the main plot and the main conflict of the story. This is what I feel strongly about, because I was like, I didn't care to learn any of their names because they're all gone anyways. I was like, none of them matter. None of them are going to show up. The only people that
Damn it,
that
we're always
matter
proving
are
his
Rocky
point.
and Ryland Grace.
Even when you look back on it, like from the end of the story,
Yeah, no, okay,
but they
Strat
do
though.
those characters so well.
This is
that
funny.
I'm so entertained.
I would say that Strat actually I really liked. I thought was really interesting because in comparison to Amanda Waller, she had the added depth of being regrettable about her actions. She definitely
Yeah,
felt like a character who understood that she would bear the sins that would save the world. And
that
she
you
was
felt
making
like
the
she
sacrifice.
knew she was killing all those people.
Yeah, I mean, with her conversations and stuff, like it seemed very apparent that she was willing to sacrifice everything, even herself, and that wasn't
Mhm.
necessarily easy. Like whenever her conversation with Grace, at least to me, it didn't feel like a betrayal. It felt like what her character would do. It wasn't. It wasn't. That's why I predicted it last time, because I was like, this seems like the natural progression of her character. She is a
It
person
really
who
did.
is
Yeah.
willing to sacrifice anything and everything in order to save the human race. And that's even her own personal morals, even her dignity, and even her sense of self. And I love that. I love that it felt deeper than just she's the bad woman. She's the strong or angry one. It felt
Mhm.
very sacrificial in a
Yeah.
sad sort of way. Like I felt sad about it.
Someone's got to do it, Like if we have the
Mhm.
apocalypse, someone has to. Like we all kind of expect someone to do those things, even if we might
Is
call
that
them
Hugo?
like despicable. I don't think Hugo would do it. No offense.
He raised his hand. He raised his hand. I was like, is he volunteering to?
You are not him. You are not him.
I'm glad I don't have to sacrifice a bunch of innocent people. That is not something I would want to do. But yeah, going back to it, it is kind of weird. I felt more sorrow for the character Rocky. Just describing both, all the people that he's lost on his ship. Because of course, Grace, he kind of glosses over, and it almost kind of works against the story because he is so focused on the mission, on figuring out where he is, why he's doing what he's doing, that he kind of quickly buries in like the death of his two crewmates. That whenever like he thinks of these things, he's like, no thinking for that right now. I can't remember what it was. I think it was him coming to terms with the fact that he wouldn't make it back to Earth. He was like, I'll think about that later. And it's like, geez, man, like how were you planning that you would go out? You would just breathe a bunch of nitrogen in? I think
That was a pretty
I don't
great.
know if he
That
ever
was a pretty
described
great
his death,
idea.
but
To
Yeah.
add on to
yeah,
that, though, he makes so many mentions of I'm not gonna think about that right now, and then he
mm,
never thinks about them, which
Yeah.
like it almost emotionally it sets something up that just never happens. And so for me, at least, that's where the plot
yeah.
kind of went down a little bit. But
Weirdly enough, I get that because this might be kind of a weird way to see it, but I don't really see there being an appropriate place to put in the story him having those emotions. Because every single time that he discovers something, there's always this hope, and he's a very hopeful character. I love that
I
about him, but
think,
there's always this hope that kind of prevents that negative thought, I guess.
but see, that's the thing. Like, I think the perfect moment to have those emotions was right after he had the flashback where he realizes that he wasn't chosen for this mission. He was just thrown. And he is very reasonably cowardly about it. He's like, I don't want to die. And then Strat says, nobody does. But, he doesn't step up to the task. He is forced to do it. And then, as far as I remember, at least, there's only like one paragraph where he's like, oh, I see how it is. So that's what happened. I'm not a hero. I'm just a coward. And
Yeah,
I think that's
just
that
kind of
would have
moves
been a
on.
great spot.
Yeah, he moves on after that. And I feel like that's where the emotional core really could have landed. That's what I was expecting the whole time. But then again, I was also sort of primed by the trailer, by the teaser. But yeah.
I think you're completely right there. We talked about last time that moment where that moment of doubt that you were talking about that you really wanted. And we got it in the past. We got it in the flashback. We didn't get it in the present. And you're completely right. And maybe this should have been a style or plot problem that I should have put, but I kind of saw it as the character of he did just keep pushing it off. And then it was like, well, that's not a big problem anymore because I'm going to survive. Like, I'm not going to die. So who cares if I'm sent on this mission? I understand. I'll have some strong words with her when I get back. And that just wasn't super satisfying.
Yeah.
I will say I enjoyed the fact that like it took so long for him to finally remember what happened. Because like imagine waking up knowing you're a coward on that ship. You probably wouldn't do anything to help yourself. It's like that little coma part. Of course, I don't know anything about biology, but I know of coma patients who have to be like reminded, like, hey, you're not asleep anymore. Because I don't know if it's like a dream to them or what, but it's kind of nice to see that he forgot so many things. I really like, and of course, this would be more so for the last episode, considering it was towards the beginning. But I enjoyed him discovering his own quirks and how that kind of just ramped up to where he figured out who he was. And I do wish there was more self doubt. Gabe is right. We definitely did see it more on Earth whenever he was kind of being forced to um, face the fact that he would have to go to space with Strat. But yeah, it's like for that, it kind of worked with the plot. It boosted it for me. I enjoyed it.
That made me think of a kind of like deep question that I don't know if Weir really considered whenever writing it. But he was a coward on Earth knowing the circumstances. But he wasn't a coward when he woke up and also understood the circumstances. Like even after he knew it was a suicide mission, he was brave. Yeah. What does that mean about bravery as like a concept? What does that mean about cowardice as a concept? Because I feel like that has a lot of ramifications there. That's pretty significant. And that's a big statement to make, to say like cowardice is not necessarily an innate attribute. Because he doesn't he walks out in the EVA suit without a second thought because it needs to be done because it's necessary. But on Earth, when his sacrifice was just as necessary, he was unwilling to take that step forward. So what is the difference there?
Yeah, no, I thought about that a lot because at least it felt very relatable and very realistic for him to have the reaction of like, because reading the book, I was like, well, what if I was the one on this mission? Like, I don't think I would have done it. I don't think I'm brave enough to be like, yes, I will go on the suicide mission to save humanity. Because I have the exact same excuse as he does. And that was a really good moment for me. Like it really stuck with me. The whole like he's very honest about, hey, like why me? No, there has to be someone else. And he's trying to like rationalize this because it's a very ridiculous premise. The idea of like, no, now it's you have to do it. And he knows he has to do it. Like he already knows beforehand. He's just sort of in denial about it. And he's like, but I don't want to die here. But regarding the question that you had, that is a really good question. I don't think I can answer that because there's always that sort of like resistance that we have when doing or before doing something very important. It can be something so small as like going to the gym, right? There's always resistance. Once you get over that, or in this case, if someone else kind of throws you over that fence, then it kind of goes back to that quote that you brought up last episode. The whole idea of
I was
like,
about to say that. I was about to bring that up. Yeah.
yeah, the
That's
whole idea of
good,
like
yeah.
we get used to the new abnormal pretty quickly. Like it becomes the new normal. And we are really good at that. There's just that band of the
Adapting.
resistance that we have to sort of get over, you know.
So
But
cowardice is more of the fear of the unknown, which is so interesting. It's like it's because he didn't know what was going to happen, even though he knew the certainty of death, like that was a certainty. Maybe that's part of it, because once he is in the regular rhythm of life, he figures it out. And you're completely right. He adapts, but it's the resistance to take that step to adapt. Because once he's already in it, he does the adapting and he figures out the solutions because he's already in it, right? He's taken that step. He's already in it. And I don't necessarily buy that. I could see one argument here being that because he believed he was brave and he believed that he was the one who volunteered for the mission, that's what made him so brave in the circumstance. That's what made him, continue on. But even after he knew that he didn't volunteer, that didn't change his line of thought whatsoever. He continued in the exact same trajectory. In fact, it didn't really change anything about the present. It was more of a side thought. And so it's clearly...
I would have liked to see more of that explored. Yeah.
Yeah. And that would have changed my answer here.
No, it goes back to that idea of like, there was no moment of self-doubt on the ship. It was always in the past.
Lightning McQueen.
That was the perfect moment for him to have that moment of like, oh, damn. I'm not who I thought I was. And then something happens in the
Lightning
story.
McQueen moment.
Yeah, dude, exactly. I'm really glad both of you brought that up.
It's just like Cars 3. It's my favorite moment.
It really does feel like Cars 3.
Because here at Novels and Nightcaps, we read, we drink, we ramble, and we make deep cut references to Cars. Cars 3 specifically.
Yeah, Cars 3.
Great movie,
Cars 3.
underrated movie. Don't get me started on that.
Before we move on, I wanted to go back to plot because I hadn't mentioned it, but I think part of the reason it's so high for me is one little sequence where Grace is kind of thinking through how did the astrophage down his ship? How did it end up, infecting so much? And he was like, is it the AC? Is it this? Is it that? And then he's going through the scientific method trying to figure out what it was. And he realizes that while the astrophage was evolving to the nitrogen, it was also evolving to escape the nitrogen through it was a material that Rocky made stuff of.
The xenonite, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, I love that so much.
Yeah, that was a good twist. I did not expect that. I did like that. That was cool.
Mm-hmm.
That was cool. Yeah, anything else before we move on? This episode is going to run a lot longer than our previous ones. That's because we're having great discussion. So,
because this is a good book, unlike
The Devil's.
It is a good book. Oh man, we really mean to that book. I feel like we're gonna have to reread it in like 5 years and readjust our opinions.
No, that's completely fair because I no baby, you remember Eleanor and Park. I feel like I was way too harsh to that book.
I think you were too.
It's much better like 3 years later now that I look back on it, but
okay.
And he has, and The Devils has such high ratings too. Like it makes me feel.
Yeah,
like
I feel like we were really off base.
Makes me feel like I'm a jerk, but I will stand by that.
Yeah, I remember Gabe saying like if you have like an extra few hours and there's absolutely nothing else to do, and like you can't take a nap because you're not tired, I guess read it.
No, because I'm just really salty that I have the hardcover for The Devils, but not for Project Hail Mary. Like that.
Yeah.
Get the Blu-ray like collector's edition case when it comes out.
I'll have to.
Oh, there you go.
That's to respect it. I am worried that they will, and I see it way too much, where the movie is not long enough to accommodate these sequences inside the story, because The Martian handled it really well. But then you have almost there were a lot of movies prior to like the 2000s, specifically the cartoons, like the Lorax. I'm sorry, I cannot stand that movie just opens with the events already happening, and there's no acknowledgement of what led up to that, and it bothers me. It's like the movie
Hugo doesn't
could have
like in media
easily been.
res.
I like his like least favorite book to movie adaptation is The Lorax.
No, that's in character once you really get to know him.
Yeah. Hugo's books that he reads is like Dr. Seuss. That's it.
The Very Hungry
Red fish,
Caterpillar.
blue fish, one fish, two fish.
Yeah. Top 5 books.
It was really hungry.
Hop
That's
on
the
Pop.
decimal
Yeah,
book
it's
he was referring to earlier today.
I will say I couldn't finish that book. I will say the only book that I really loved more than, or sorry, the only movie that I loved more than the book, where I still feel has that same issue, is The Perks of Being a Wallflower. The movie itself cut out exactly much better than Lorax. If we could cut that out, the Perks of Being a Wallflower movie was so incredibly good, and I loved it. I loved every. I mean, I think when I watched it, I might have rewatched it 2 or 3 times. When I read the book, there were so many things that it cut out, and it's like comparing a 10 to a 9.9 for me, in that aspect. But there were certain things that I just wish the movie had touched up on that didn't really knock the movie down any pegs for me. And I hope that they're able to capture that same sense of importance with the same scenes, because there's a lot of things that go wrong that have to go right then after. Like there's one event on Earth where I believe it's a station that explodes because they were breeding astrophage and something exploded. The astrophage probably. And then Project Hail Mary, when they're in space, they have the whole sequence where y'all mentioned it, where Rocky like almost dies, where it's a fake out, and it's like it's really enjoyable. But I just really hope that they're able to keep enough of the important stuff that you see so many times get lost.
No, for sure.
Otherwise, in other places.
That is a big worry of mine. On the other hand, though, I do think the movie might handle those action sequences a lot better than the book did, which is a nice segue, because now we're going to talk about style.
Let's do it. Style, Noor, so, what did you give it?
I gave it an 8 out of 10, and there's one major reason why this does not get a 9, and it's because as accessible as it is, as very like friendly and easy to understand, and it really makes you want to or it makes you think or acknowledge the fact that science is cool. Like science is problem solving. It's finding all these like little things about the universe and how it all works. And all the theories really were a lot of fun for me to read about. Whenever something really sudden or action heavy happened, the style worked against it. It just maybe 2 sentences in a paragraph, and then we're back to problem solving mode. We're trying to think through this, but we're not acknowledging the fact that part of the ship just blew up, or the fact that Rocky almost died.
Like, he jettisoned so many fuel tanks, and it's like, wait, will this have any effect on him getting back home? Or like, is this just something that, it's like, it's very sudden, and there's one line of dialogue describing it. And, it's just the first person close perspective of what exactly is going on. It kind of hurts it sometimes. I can completely agree with that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is also a situation where hearing your argument definitely makes me want to change my score. So it's a 2-way street here, Noor. I give it a 9 out of 10. And I do have a good reason though. I do have a good reason. And it really has to do with the flashbacks that we talked about and how he utilizes those flashbacks in the story and with the perspective. And I don't know the last time I was so immersed in a perspective and in a specific character's voice. I've read a lot of first person books, and a lot of times it's great. And a lot of times they write action significantly better than Weir does here. but I don't often feel as engaged with the individual. And I don't often see characters that are as unique, I think is the best way to put it. And so I gave Style a 9 out of 10 because of that, because of the way that he uses flashbacks, because, which we talked plenty about last time, I think. We talked about that to death. If you want to know about our opinions on the flashbacks, go watch the previous episode. But I really liked how he did that. I think it was very engaging, and it made me like flashbacks, which I never do in books. I actually hate flashbacks with a passion, but I liked them here.
He wrote like 4 in his own book.
Yes. Anyways, so I would say 9 out of 10 for me. 9 out of 10 for me. Hugo, what is your opinion on the style?
Yeah. Guys, glazing time. I rated it 10 out of 10. I loved it. It's like, as much as I had issues with the action sequences going by a little bit too quickly and being a little too close to his own perspective, at the end of the day, that's what the book's about to me. I mean, it's this man who goes into space, who is figuring out everything that he has to do in sequence. And, maybe there are other issues that are arising or things that are going on at the same time, but he's only focusing on these single actions. And it's the closeness to the action scenes. That's the only part that kind of ruins it for me. But he's inside them. I needed it to be longer. That's really all. That's the only gripe I have about it. If anything, I love the flashbacks so much in this book. I mean, I hate Assassin's Creed because it kind of takes you out of the main story while you're going. This book does the same thing. It takes you out of the major important events, but it gives context to them. It doesn't just leave you without any reward. It's really good in the way that it doesn't take your attention away. It just explains further into what you're reading, because a lot of those points, that they'll just throw me off of reading, and then it's like the next time I go to pick up the book, I'll be like, do I even want to pick up the book to read this part? Well, yes, but just to get through this part so I can read the actual meat of the story. This just every single flashback felt like it was complementing the story.
I think Assassin's Creed is a great example, though. That's perfect, because there is this sort of, Nora, I don't know if you're out of the loop here. I don't know if you played Assassin's
I've never
Creed.
seen the movie.
Or played the game.
I was
really talking about the game. There is a movie though, but in the game there is a
I have
Black Flag.
You have it. There's a mystery that you're trying to solve, like in the modern day, and there's this whole storyline there, but it's just so irrelevant. It's just irrelevant.
It really is.
And you complete that as fast as you can to get back to killing people in history. It's
having fun.
Yeah,
really
get back to having
brought
fun.
that up, because I only played 30 minutes of Black Flag, and that's because I got stuck in the real world part. I was like, this is so boring. What am I doing?
You got stuck?
It's like,
well, I didn't get stuck.
It's like the Mary Jane
things. Will myself to keep going. This is so boring.
Okay, yeah.
I want to be a pirate.
Yeah, it is really boring. Yeah. I completely agree. That is a really good point.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what Andy Weir does well, is incorporate it in a way that matters, which we've already talked about, but we're reiterating it here because it matters, and it's essential to understanding how this book is good.
Flashbacks here are so good, so exceptionally good.
They really are. And it's the character doesn't know anything, and that's what I love about the flashbacks.
There is a purpose.
You're giving context to a character that already exists. Where he likes children. It's nice to know why he likes children. Other than that, it's like, if I knew he was a school teacher who was describing that, it's like, that might even be more concerning, honestly. But I enjoyed it. I love the flashback sequences.
Yeah, I completely agree. Agree. Anything else?
How do we feel about the humor?
Oh, that's great. I loved it. I thought it fit really well. I'm trying to figure out if I have a complicated take on it other than it was good. It felt very natural is the best way to put it. It fit the story quite well. It didn't feel forced or in the way of what was going on. because of the character's optimism, it played really well with the humor. And so it didn't hurt the tension because of that, because it fit the character's personal philosophy quite well.
Yeah, it never felt like they were trying to break the tension like you'll see in certain movies. Marvel.
Marvel, yeah.
Exactly. Marvel. But yeah, it's like you see these quirks that exist within the character, and even things that aren't supposed to be humorous, like Rocky repeating certain things 3 times whenever he's excited, or saying question after a question. It's like those things are they're funny to me. I really enjoy just seeing Rocky say question after a certain question. But it was very natural. I mean, even whenever Grace would talk and make a joke, which he didn't overly do, like it wasn't saturated. He was just a funny kind of like the funny guy that you don't really associate with being funny. But if you were to see how he thinks, it's humorous. It's enjoyable to watch.
You're onto something there. With, yeah. It's consistency is with the style. The thing that I liked. It's how consistent the style is, and how the humor is consistent, the pacing is consistent, the problem-solving loop is consistent. Everything is harmonious in how it works together, in my opinion, at least. And that's why it scored a 9. Is because in Project Hail Mary, Weir does this thing where he stays true to what he's good at, and he doesn't stray too far away. And it works really well. But it has its limitations, like the action scenes, for example, or like the emotional core of the story, which can sometimes lose its focus. So there are limitations here in what Weir is good at, but he's really good at what he can do.
I will say, and it was really weird to think about because it just suddenly popped into my head. The sequence in the beginning of Endgame where Iron Man is coming to terms with the fact that he will never see, like, I wish that, Grace had more time to like leave messages through the little rhinos that he had sent back to Earth. The Beatles. It was, I kind of wanted a scene where and the moment that he left Rocky probably, well, it wouldn't have made sense then because he was already going back to Earth. But it's like they could have done that focus on the passage of time where, like in Interstellar, he watches his daughter grow up in the span of minutes and he's just been in space that whole time. But any message that Grace sends, I think he said from the time that he left Earth, it's been 70 years. And
by the end of the book,
that's like such... Yeah, that's such like an incredibly... Oh yeah, because he's like 50 at that point, which was kind of weird to, see that he was like an old man. Well, not even an old man. He was like mid-50s, but gravity, increased erosion on the bones. He was essentially an old man. And I just kind of wished we had seen him talk more about that,
Yeah. Okay, so world. What did we think about the world? This is a bit weird because this is a pretty grounded, realistic sci-fi, and so it's not exactly
weird.
But it's not exactly a fantasy world. It's not the same as the Devils. It's pretty grounded, but still, what he used the world for, how he crafted the setting to fit the story. What did you guys give it? Hugo, go ahead. What did you give it?
I think I went a bit too low, weirdly enough. I gave it an 8 out of 10.
Too low.
Yeah, I loved the problems that came up. How astrophage is, eating at the sun. How that affects, the ice caps. How they have to completely terraform Africa. It's like it feels like the world that we are definitely living in. To the point where after I finish the book, I have to realize, like, hey, we haven't actually interacted with aliens in the same capacity. And with the world that he kind of created for Rocky, which we don't really actually get to experience till the last chapter of the book, it's like I really enjoyed how Grace kind of adapted to that world and, became a teacher in that same capacity for the what are
The
they called?
Iridians. The Iridians.
Yeah, Iridians. Yeah, where he became a teacher for the Iridian children. It was it was all really nice to see play out, because every single action that took place before he had left Earth, like in all the flashbacks, had major consequences. It was nice to see that it wasn't just like that it was something that actually needed to be done, as opposed to something that had very little consequence. Because it's nice to see that a disaster is actually a catastrophe, that it's bad, that like he has to come to terms with half the kids that are in his classroom dying before he gets back. Like, this world is essentially about to die, and I like that he builds up on that.
Mm-hmm. That's great. Nor World. I feel like
I
this is a
think
bad score for you.
I think I'm gonna have you go first.
Oh no.
You go first.
So
You go first.
You go
think
first.
I give it a little high. I think mine's a little high. But still I can defend this. I feel like I have some reasoning here. Give it a 9. I have 2 9s. This is my second 9. I absolutely loved it. And the reason is it felt very grounded, and he really dedicated himself to being so grounded. And I really did buy that this kind of thing could happen. Obviously it hasn't, but how he
Yeah.
showed how the world responded to this event seemed very plausible to me. And even after the fact, way after, whenever Grace was thinking about what life would be like, how wars would break out, how all these things would happen once he sent it home. And that's why he really wanted to distribute the astrophage himself on Venus, because who knows what Earth would be like. That kind of response I really liked. The biggest thing for me were the Iridians, and Iridian culture and Iridian life really landed well. And I found it to be refreshing and unique and not hostile, but very different. It was completely alien, like completely alien. However, felt really cozy and wholesome by the end of the story. Like him being watched while he slept is such a funny little quirk that landed so well. I think that's what most of it has to do with. The world, specifically the Iridians, was so specific with the culture and with the I think culture is more so what I'm talking about here. I think it can be a little weaker in some other areas. But I don't know. When I finished the story and decided to rate it, which I maybe rated a little too soon, uh, him ending with the teaching scene really just melted my heart and made me so like, that was the perfect ending. It really was. And that's talking about plot, but the perfect place to end it was him teaching again. And it was so wholesome, and it was so interesting, and it left a lot to be desired in a good way. A lot to be. I wanted to know more,
You
but I
don't
think
want book stuff.
I think it gave me enough about what was happening on Earth and how Earth was responding, enough to buy into it. But if I were to revise my score after some reflection, I would probably drop it down just a little bit, but not too much. Like I still very much enjoyed the world, and now I'm scared. Nor, what horrible score did you give it?
Yeah, welcome to Novels and Nightcaps, the podcast where we read, drink, ramble, and reevaluate our ratings halfway through discussion. Because I gave it a really low score, and I don't think it's proper.
No. You got to stick to it. I stick to my 9. I stick to my 9. Share your score, then you can reevaluate. You can say, I would give it this next time.
This is my outlier. This is the only reason why this my overall rating is a 7.8 and nothing higher, because it definitely should be higher. I give it a 6 out of 10, but I realize now, as we've been talking and going through all these little ratings, I am not good at discriminating between like plot, character, style, impact, and world, because some things that I talk about in plot, you talk about in character, and I'm like, oh damn, no, yeah, that is character. And then some things that I like about the style, you talk about in world, and I'm like, oh damn, that is world. Um, because I 100% agree with everything that you just said. So
Yeah.
a 6 out of 10 feels really low. I think my reasoning here was a big buy-in for me was the whole world working together. Um, so I guess I took it literally, and I thought about world as in like the actual world. And I'm usually really optimistic and very like hope core. So I do like that, and it did make me smile. And I love how optimistic this sci-fi book really is. But it also felt like, oh, this is a really major buy-in for me. But then again, I don't really know how the world would actually react to such an event.
Yeah.
Um, that being
I
said,
guess
though,
for
now that I
me,
really
I really saw it as like all the, and this is bad to say, all the important people in the world. like I don't know if like I don't know. I probably should name drop an unimportant country. I'm gonna go with it anyways. I don't think like
the superpowers.
I don't think it matters if like Laos, buys into this whole system. But they talked about like Russia, China, the United States, like all the important countries coming together as like the world, all the superpowers that control the world, basically. So that's at least how I took it. But I get you. Anyways, continue. Sorry.
Yeah, so that was the only part that kind of did make me rank it really low. That being said, um, I rating this, I didn't even consider it like Iridian as part of the
Okay.
world, which I totally should have, because Iridian was awesome. That was pretty cool. Learning all the biology and the lore behind that world was so cool. I already mentioned this, but like the hypothetical theories about like how life came to be, uh, that was so fascinating to me. I loved that. The whole concept of if this alien race was able to come up with interstellar travel, but they did not know about radiation. Like and that cost them 22 of the 23 iridians that went on this trip. Like that sucks.
Yeah.
Xenonite and the implication of like, well, no, xenon is a noble gas. There's no way this should work. And yet on Earth, that's not how it works. But this is a pretty big universe, right? So it makes sense that somewhere down the line we'll come up with a new discovery that completely changes the way we think of something as fundamental as the periodic table. Like that's a big change. I like that. The Tamiba was such a cool concept to me. Astrophage, awesome. Tamiba, even better. Because yes, of course, there's gonna be a predator to Astrophage. The whole scene in Adrian was so cool to me. Them going to a different planet, but like not being able to be there because the atmosphere. Um, so I really liked all that stuff. So I guess now that I'm revising my world, I would totally give it like an 8 out of 10. Unfortunately, I have to stick bit with what I gave it.
That's
so
okay.
it's a 6 out of 10.
It's okay.
But not really.
No,
I'll do better next
Giving
time.
mine a 9 out of 10.
I'll do better next time.
I loved it.
Great.
9
And
out
then
of 10?
finally, you're upping it tonight. I think I'll drop my whatever. It's past us. We made our beds. We better lie in it. So finally, impact. How did the story stick with you? What was the emotional resonance? What kind of questions really mattered here? And what was your overall score? Nora, you can go ahead and start because I want to know your thoughts on this one.
Is that Titi Hugo in the background?
Yes, that is.
It's okay. It's okay.
Is that better? Can you still hear?
It's okay.
Yeah, it's fine. We'll kind of don't worry. Don't
Do
worry
not
about
worry
it.
about Titi. Okay, Titi is irrelevant. He was not invited to the podcast.
Bro,
DD's emotional impact 0 out of 10.
We'll cut him out. We will cut him out. Impact, I gave it an 8 out of 10. I think I contradict myself all the time. So the reason why I gave World such a low score is weirdly enough the reason why I gave Impact an 8 out of 10. So I can't explain this, guys. I'm sorry. I love that it was so optimistic. and that it was so hope core. I like how, I'm gonna say it again, how optimistic this book is. Science, in high school for me, science was such a boring thing. It was very sterile, very like exact, and very nerdy in like the bad ways. Um, and then I went to college and I took science classes, and I got way into. I gained such an appreciation for science, and I think this book does such a really good job at making you feel that way, even if you've never been into science. I think the accessibility of the book is so good in that regard. So it makes science be such a cool thing. Um, it's a puzzle we're constantly trying to figure out. The curiosity in this book was so refreshing. Having an alien, or having the first encounter, it wasn't scary. It was exciting. It was fascinating, and it really was just like meeting someone else. Someone who's very different from you, and at the same time, you do have that common ground. Because yeah, let's do it. Like, yeah, there's always common ground. I do believe in that. So that was fun. That emotional high of Grace being so close to Earth, like being so close to finally going home. The whole book, he has no hope. He knows it's a suicide mission, and then there's like these little glimpses of hope, and then something goes horribly wrong that makes you think, "Oh no, he's not going back." And then eventually, he's like, "No, I can make it back," and he's on his way. And he says goodbye to Rocky, which absolutely crushed me. I was dreading that moment. As soon as I met Rocky, I was like, "Oh, this is gonna hurt when they say goodbye." And then him going back to save Rocky, that was such a high for me, and it definitely hit. I think the only reason it doesn't go higher than that is the same gripe I've been talking about this whole episode. That moment of self doubt doesn't. It's teased throughout the whole book, and then it just never comes, and it really leaves something to be desired. But aside from that, 8 out of 10 for me. What about you
I
guys?
like that. I like that. I give it an 8.5, so pretty close here. The thing that it's funny because we have completely different reasons for impact. While I completely agree about the optimism side, like that to me also spoke a lot because you see not very much optimism in books. Books like this, I mean, we see so many sad boy characters, right? Like think of like Kaladin from Stormlight Archives. There are so many sad boy characters that are just
We love Kaladin.
so depressed, and their whole character is just pessimism. There's so much pessimism in the world. There's just so much. It is oozing out of every piece of media, whether it's in real life, in the news, or if it's in fiction. Like it's just constant. And I read a lot of like dark fiction, so I don't get a lot of happiness like this. And it was so refreshing and just wholesome to read something that thought things would go well, and I liked that a lot. And I completely agree there. He was very hopeful, and that was hugely impactful. The other area that really got me thinking was all the philosophical parts that I've been talking about that I really was interested in. And I think that Weir didn't address them directly, but that's kind of why I liked it, is because it wasn't too forceful. I had time to ponder these things while we were solving all these little problems. And while I agree that it would have been higher for me if there was an emotional payoff for some of these relationships and thoughts, I still got that payoff from the philosophical sense, right? And also knowing that his hope paid off and he didn't die, and it worked out well for me because he still had the sadness of not being able to ever go home, but the happiness of surviving and still having that purpose. So I mean, honestly, I feel like our ratings here should be switched because I didn't feel the emotional like turning point whenever he left Rocky. I loved Rocky. I loved Grace. That maybe it's just because I knew what was going to happen and I didn't. I was like, this isn't goodbye, but it just didn't land for me, and I didn't get impact from that emotional part. But a lot of the other aspects I did. So finally, Hugo, your impact. What is your perspective here?
Hugo, you go. You gotta say that. Yeah.
We're never saying that. We're never going to say that.
Not saying that.
Okay. I'm sorry. I visit the show once and I mess it up. No.
Sorry. Can we just like cut him out of the entire show?
Yeah, no,
it'll be
no,
just
no,
like
probably-
a silent black square. We're just sitting in silence for a minute.
Especially now that Titi has joined the podcast. He was not invited.
TT was
TT
not.
and
It's okay. It's okay. Go ahead. What's your score?
Go.
Impact. Yeah. So whenever I read a book, as opposed to watching a movie, I almost always try to go at it with, and this is really weird for me specifically, because I always try to do it with movies, but I always try to completely ignore every single thought that I could think of. Like that, it sounds kind of weird, but I never try to guess what's going to come. Like if it's maybe in 2 sentences, I will figure out what's going to happen because it literally can't be ignored. But once I set the book down, I try not to think about anything that I haven't read, just simply because I want to experience it how I imagine anyone would when they were going through it. I'd say impact wise, the relationship between Rocky and Grace was so enjoyable to watch. It really did hit whenever I first read it, because like I said, I read the last 15 to 20% this morning, which is surprisingly a good amount. But it was really hard to kind of figure that Rocky would be going through any sort of turmoil. Like when I was reading it, I didn't want to think about him, being alone, being in his ship, realizing that there was no hope left because the what was it called?
Tamiba?
Tau.
The
Tamiba.
Tamiba. Yeah, because the Tamiba had eaten all of his fuel. It was like that to me hurt deeply, and I will say it didn't hit to the point where I think about this story so much after I've read it, but in the moment it really did hit. And I think this is one of the books I actually did shed a tear to, just because like I got really connected to him. I felt really bad for him, and it was really sad to think of him experiencing any sort of pain at all. And I feel like part of it was because he wasn't human. Of course, when Grace was describing, all his teammates dying, it was sad, but I feel like Rocky existing in this narrative was so helpful to how impactful the story would end up being. I felt like Grace was to some extent like Superman. He was a hero in his own right, and it was sad to see that he didn't get that recognition from Earth. I'm sure he did to some extent, but he's probably praised as like a savior of humanity. But you didn't really get to see it.
There'll be statues of you.
Yeah. And it's like that's great and all, but it's like nothing really hits until you see everything going wrong. And then whenever who was it? Whenever Rocky was whenever I forget what the event was that caused him to almost die, but like Grace had to pick up Rocky and put him back in his safety zone, or you'll have to forgive me, it was over like 9 months ago that I read the book, but like that feeling, that worry really did strike. And it felt like the characters were real, and I really love that about the book. It really brought them to life.
I like
so
that.
many books that
I like that a lot.
They just don't hit. This one did.
I usually don't think too much and try and predict. Like I'm usually like that. This podcast has kind of ruined that a little bit, especially whenever we break it into parts. So from now on, just to be clear, after this, we're not going to be breaking our books into parts. After this podcast, we're just going to release one episode per book as a way to prevent part of this, right? Because every single time we would have to sit down and talk about it, and we would predict what's going to happen next, because obviously that's what you kind of do in a book talk. And so we would do that, and it really does hurt the impact of the book, at least for me, because you're completely right. Sitting there and not thinking about what happens next is a lot more satisfying as a read. But I would say that one thing that kind of just hit me is I did immediately think of Rocky whenever he discovered that the Tomiba, whatever, the predators were getting through the little like container zones. I immediately was like, Rocky's cooked. Like, he's dead, bro. And I loved that. I loved that I was able to make that connection, because it was super satisfying, because the question for me was never where it's going. The question was never the destination, because I feel like we all kind of have a sense of the destination, for better or for worse. We knew that Earth was going to be saved, for example. We know that. Earth's not going to die in the end of this book. It's too optimistic to have a turn like that. We know that Earth is going to be saved, but we don't know how. We don't know the journey to get there, and that's what creates tension. That's what creates an interesting story. And so while I felt that they were going to end up together and end up on the Iridian planet, I didn't know how that was going to happen. And so it was really satisfying to see that be the method, and to put that together in my brain, and to, like, I felt so smart. I was like, yeah, like, so cool. It was really cool to put those pieces together and realize that Rocky's really in danger because of this situation. And to know that's how it connects, and to finally bridge that little gap that I still had in my brain for how we were going to get to the ending of the book. It was really satisfying. So that partly is why the impact was so high for me. And I just kind of realized that is the journey to get to where I knew it was headed was extremely satisfying. So at least, yeah, and that just made me think about that. That was really, what was your score for impact, Hugo? I think I missed it. Is it 10? 10 out of 10.
10.
Oh, wow.
I loved it.
That's beautiful.
I will say, there are other books that definitely have stuck with me way more. Tomorrow, for example.
That's a good one.
The decisions, the actions inside those books. Like, I will still think of months. I think at this point, that was the beginning of 2023 that we read it, or 24.
Yep. Yeah.
But regardless, that book is still there.
When in doubt, I always ask myself, what would Marx do?
What would Marx do? I'll be honest, that book, I loved that book. It only sticks with me because of one scene. I think we know what scene I'm talking about, like what sequence, what chapter I'm talking about. Not to spoil it, because this is not about that book.
Yeah.
That book was really good. It was very mid for me until that one chapter. It was like, this made the book. This chapter, this turn made the book great for me. Anyways, not at all. We're not all talking about that, but that's a really good.
We'll definitely have to talk about that book at some point.
So good.
Great book. But definitely worth a reread.
I'm really glad you guys brought that up, though. The idea of like prediction and trying to figure out the plot, like trying to be one step ahead of the book. I try not to do that. That's not why I enjoy stories. I like stories that suck me in, right? Like that sweep me off my feet, right? I like not knowing what's going to happen. And I do think that's one of the main issues with our format so far. It's almost like a requirement. We have to come up with predictions, because naturally, what else would you have, right? It makes sense for us to come up with predictions. So I think moving forward, having the one episode per book thing is going to help a lot with that. I also think that's one of the main reasons why the Devils didn't hit as much as it did for us, because we would have these prediction moments, and we would set expectations for ourselves that naturally, if you're reading the book in one sitting, or if you're reading the book as a whole and not per sections, then you don't come up with these expectations. So I think that's part of why the book was rated a bit lower for us. I still think it has some objective or more objective issues, but
yeah, I agree.
Yeah, no, I mean,
I agree. So to kind of sum up our views of the book, right? To kind of put into a concise way. Me being concise, but in a shorter way. What our thoughts of the book were: we loved the plot and the characters. We thought that it was really strong in those areas. We liked the Iridians. We liked the aliens. We liked the optimism. But what we really struggled with was the action and the payoff, the emotional payoff. Those were the two main complaints, right? Does that kind of sum up our thoughts of the book?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think so. I think you hit the nail there.
Wow. Let's go. And
that was concise.
Wow. And before we finish our drinks, we should probably announce the book that we're doing next time, right? What are we reading next time? Do you have the book? Do you have it ready?
The Song of Achilles.
The Will of the Many by James Islington. He's Australian.
Islington? He's Australian, yeah. It's great so far. It's
Great
really
so
good.
far. Great so far.
I'm so excited. This was a book that I kind of forced him to read because it's kind of like Red Rising, and he's just not reading Red Rising. And so I was like, dude, trust me, this is totally different.
I trust your judgment, and I've seen it. I've seen everybody hype that book up, and I can see how. I will say, this book right off the bat, I was like, oh, this is really good stuff.
That's good. I'm loving it.
I will read
love
Red Rising.
So
I will read Red Rising.
We have a bet. Once he reads Red Rising, I'll read Rhythm of War. I'm really procrastinating on the final bits of Stormlight because I heard some of the reviews of the final book
as being depressed, and it's like, boy, you have not seen anything yet.
So, anyways, make sure to go grab your copy of that book. Read it for us for next time. So that'll be a month from now. We'll post that. Yeah, link below. But next week, or I guess next 2 weeks from now, next episode, we'll be talking about something a little different. It's not going to be about a book, but hopefully you can tune in and enjoy that. So we'll see what that's about. Stay tuned to see what's next. But before we end, Hugo, did you finish your drink? Did you finish it?
A sip left.
Oh. Finish it off. This is what we do. Nor, you?
I finished my drink.
I finished my drink too, because here at Novels and Nightcaps, we finish our drinks. Everybody subscribe, like, comment. Good night.
Good night.
Good night.